Happy Saturday, guys. So, I have a subject that I haven't really talked about before, but I really want you guys to understand why it's important that we talk about it specifically like this. So, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you guys like me. Isolation. So, a lot of people and a lot of groups will, kind of get upset when people pull themselves away, and it's not because you don't like those people or you know um, in today's society, and there's a reason behind this, and people don't understand why that reason is, because it's unconsciously done, is that we unconsciously pull energy from each other, and it's just because of the way the system is. It's what we grew up in. For example, when I was first born, and a lot of you, if you're very highly empathic, you went through this. When you were first born, you experienced a lot of pain in your environment, right? Because you're feeling the emotional pain of the people around you. And when you're a really young child, you're just crying the whole time, right? That's what happens. And so your environment is trying to feed off of you, right? Your parents are trying to make them feel better. Oh, let's raise a family, right? Because the environment that they grew up in was trying to feed off of them, right? It's this old, beast mentality that's been feeding on each other for time immemorial. And so each generation is trying to cure that and pull itself out of that need to feed off of one another. And so in order for our society to grow, and this is happening naturally, it's not happening because more and more people are isolating themselves to get out of groups that are unconsciously feeding off of each other, not knowing that they're doing that. And so in order to create and pull yourself back in your creative energy, you have to isolate and constantly meditate on this, to make sure that you're opening your heart chakra, and you're showing love for the people around you, because it doesn't matter what state they're in. Just because somebody hasn't done the same work that you have, it just means that they're unconsciously feeding off their environment, and they don't realize that, and they're actually letting the shadow is feeding off of themselves. They don't even realize that's why they're growing older and not feeling as well. So it causes addictions and all kinds of things to keep you from evolving in this lifetime, and it keeps you out of your creative energy. So in order to survive, you think that you have to feed off of those people around you in some way. It's just the old mindset. And so even spiritual groups that are trying to evolve will be unconsciously feeding off one another, and they'll get increasingly forced to isolate just to heal and just naturally get in their creative energy. What is it that I need to create? What is it that I need to, put positive energy into the people around us? And so I would really like to encourage all of you, it doesn't matter where you're at, for one thing, to set energetic barriers within yourself, to make sure that if somebody is trying to confront you or feed off of you in any way, just say, hey, stop. Hey, I don't, I would love, you're better than that. You don't have to, try and point the finger at me or judge other people to make yourself feel better. I mean, you have to do it in a way that, they can understand. And at the same time, sometimes you just have to walk away. We're not responsible for other people's growth. We have to accept that, people the way they are. And a lot of times, the best way to accept somebody is to pull yourself away for a long time, and then maybe revisit them once a year, right? Maybe once every year and a couple years to, ask them how they're doing. I was talking to my uncle about this the other time. He was talking about a relative that he hadn't talked to in a long, long time. I think 20 years or something. And, because they just had a negative opinion about himself or about him, and so he never reached out to talk to him. And I encouraged him. I said, just because somebody else doesn't think much of you doesn't mean that they could possibly be changing, and they might be living in some kind of old mindset. So just checking up, it's not going to hurt any of us to check up on people and loved ones that we haven't talked to for a long time, just to see how they're doing. Because, just because, you might have had a relative or somebody that you cared about that was toxic 2 years ago, doesn't mean that they're not going through some kind of inner transformation. And they'll appreciate you reaching out because maybe they acted in a way that they weren't really happy with the last time that they talked to you. And just by you reaching out and saying, hey, look, I don't hold you in any negative regard because of the way you used to act. And I know because you know where that comes from. It just comes from inner trauma, right? When somebody tries to attack you or anything like that, it's an internal security that's sourced from them. It is not your fault. Okay? This is one of the hardest lessons that you guys got to learn. Because if you accept the projected energies that are around you, it takes seat. It gives you a false perception of who you are. You are a beautiful person. I don't care where you're from, what you're doing, what kind of hell you had to go through when you were younger. Okay? That was just preparing you for you to be able to overcome any kind of negative opinion of yourself so that you can start pouring positivity in your environment. There are some really important lessons to learn where you can just completely let go of the past, because the past will keep trying to pull you back into it. And that's part of the reason a lot of times we have to get out of groups, because groups will create this internal momentum as they move along, and they won't evolve. They'll just kind of stay in the same pattern over a long period of time. Even two people could create the same kind of pulling energy that the group will match in some way. And so those wounds, whatever that unconscious wound is that you're probably not even aware of, will never heal, right? I mean, for me personally, this happened for years and years and years within the electrical industry. And it took me months of isolation, of putting positive energy out there to see what kind of return I get, and then to monitor and then take time to reflect, okay, what is coming back to me? And why is it coming back this way? And you'll find, and this is at the time, presently, sometimes it can be really upsetting, but when you look at the bigger picture, it's amazing what is happening right now in our society. More and more people are moving into isolation, healing themselves from the inside out, putting positive energy into their environment, and triggering all those old wounds and forcing people to heal. I put things on LinkedIn a lot of times, and people might look at it, it's negative, but you have to, you're literally going to war with the shadow. It's not a bad thing to trigger people. All right? It's not bad. If people are trying to feed off one another, you have to let them know what they're doing energetically. And even if they get mad at you and get triggered, they're trying to project energy because you've triggered something inside of them that needs to be triggered. It's true. And so the biggest challenge is to keep taking care of yourself and raising yourself energetically, and let that flower from the inside keep blooming like this. And it'll cause your environment to do that. You're always, all you can do is control yourself and control how you view the world around you. And so you'll go through these cycles where have more compassion for yourself. You'll constantly trigger your environment. And at the same time, the environment's forced to heal because of that. It'll keep separating itself until it reaches this tension, and then everybody's healing themselves. It's exactly like when you see an animal die, and then mushrooms decompose the old animal and then pop up. So this amazing organism, this new organism is formed from the old organism that died, because the organism It was time for the old organism to die. And if you think about how your body heals, if your body breaks down, then you have a bunch of antibodies in the bodies, and they're all individual antibodies that start to blossom and grow and heal the cells around them and get rid of all the toxicity in the body. And so your body's getting rid of toxicity the whole time. And not are we doing that on an individual level, but the whole organism is doing that. We're getting rid of toxicity. And it's done individually by all of you guys. Another thing that happens when you pull yourself out of groups is you to open up your creativity. As you become more creative and your energy levels go up, and you start to have this sense of peace and gratitude for everything that's around you, and you'll look at all this from a higher perspective and say, oh, wow, what's happening? You know, for me personally, I've had to overcome a lot of things just because just triggering a lot of people and the way they view things. You know, I've made lots of videos on this channel about, you know, some of the messages and how powerful they are with the beautiful movie, A Beautiful Mind. And there's some other movies that I'm going to reference, you know, and some other stuff that I'm doing about how to protect your energy. You know, Kung Fu Hustle, that movie it's like the best martial arts movie I think I've ever seen, just because there's so much ancient knowledge in that movie. And if you realize what's being taught there, that's the ascension process, because our main character never actually hurts the beast or kills the beast. The beast is in service to the master. So that beast nature that you have is in service to you. But you have to put the kibosh on it, right? Don't allow it to feed off of yourself. Because you're always pointing outside of yourself and feeding off of your environment, you know, mentally, or yourself. Negatively think about yourself or the people around you, because that will get projected on the people around you. If you think negatively about yourself, then you won't, a lot of times you won't recognize the things that you had to go through. And so you won't recognize what other people are going through because of it, if that makes sense. So, you know, there's a lot there, obviously, but there's even way more than that. And it comes to actually creating this reality where you can, so think of it this way. You guys think about this. Frequency happens over time, right? It's a replication of ourself, right? That's what causes frequency, is that replication process. The 369 equation is, you know, it goes from 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, right? I think that's the order. And that's it flopping back and forth between 3 and 6, and 9 is the 0 point. So the frequency that it goes back and forth, bump, 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 how you replicate yourself, right? The first replication is 1 becomes 2, then 2 becomes 4. So that act of replicating yourself is what causes frequency. That's the creation process. Everything, we are co-creating this whole reality. That's what's happening. Now, if you're getting pulled out of your creative energy, that lowers your frequency, right? You're not replicating yourself as much as you normally would. So, right now, the information that I carry is replicating itself into you. So I'm increasing my frequency I'm able to hold more information because I've pulled myself from environments that were in a lower frequency. It's the only way that you can do it. You can raise your frequency in groups if 11:11 on the clock. It's funny that I'm talking about this. It's literally 11:11 right now. If you can get people to detach from everything that they've done before, right? Completely detach, and then start as an individual, start pouring that, you know, frequency. You're pouring yourselves into each other, and do specific meditation exercises to do that, right? In nature and things, because um, help everything grow. You're helping yourself in the community grow. So at the same time that you're raising your own awareness, you're raising the awareness of everybody around you. Um, yeah, that's more of the healing process. Traditional Reiki healing is a lot of cutting, taking, just kind of cleaning up people's auric fields and cleaning the gunk out. And we concentrate on that, but we don't concentrate as much on pouring our higher frequency into each other, right? Because you can elevate the structure by pouring what you are into the people around you. That's the transmutation process. So we're actually seeing a transmutation process going on around the globe. And it will look like the whole structure is breaking down, but that's part of the process. It's okay. Don't worry about it. As long as you stay elevated, try and get in your creative energy and stay creative. Say, hey, what do I need to do? What do I really want to do, right? What do I love to do? And so for me, I go back and forth between isolation and taking time to go spend time with other people. But I want to make sure I'm staying in my creative process. Whatever it is I'm creating here at home. And try not to get pulled into what anybody else is going through, because they're going through their own specific type of healing process. And we just went, I just wrote an article about it. We just went through this major cycle. So there's more and more people that are getting forced to say, oh, we can't attack each other anymore, right? Because if for 1,000 years, certain family traits were to allow people to siphon energy from you, then you're allowing people to do that were in a toxic family dynamic that was doing that over generations. And so by pulling yourself away and cutting people off energetically, mentally, with that, saying, hey, look, I love you. I want to put positive energy into you. You don't need to pull from me, right, to get what you want. All you have to do is pour positivity into each other. And that's a really good relationship anyway, right? I really want you guys to understand this stuff, so that there's so much that gets taught about on YouTube and everywhere that, elevating your consciousness, you need to do this. But you still got to know why that is necessary, what's going on the bigger picture. Because if you don't, a lot of times you'll get caught and stuck in a negative karmic cycle, because you won't understand that you still need, this external validation over here, and you got to be able to break away from what's going on in the past. I kind of moved away from the frequency and 369 thing, but there's when you believe that everything around you is static, you can't change it, right? Is everything static? Now is the only really reality, right? The past hasn't happened, but that's an illusion. So we're constantly creating this reality. So your ability to change it is your ability to understand that. Think about that for a little while. And then what is possible and what isn't possible. Because frequency creates the reality you see. It creates structure. And if you can detach from the past and you can create frequency, what is it that you can create? I don't know. I'll leave you guys with that question for a while. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day.